That sounds about right.
Yeah, you can turn the film on all you want now.
That's the irony of being a musician. Every time somebody's like, oh, you got CDs? I'm like, no, I gotta buy them from the label. Like, can I get a CD? I'm like, no, I gotta buy it just like you do. Some things never change, I guess.
And these stories about them tearing the hotels up and throwing stuff out of the windows, it all happened.
Oh, of course.
I mean, they literally would go, open the window, start throwing TVs out, beds. I mean, we have accountants that pay it for it all, which is a line out of Joe Walsh. It's true. I mean, the irreverence and the stuff that was going on was just unbelievable, and it's not that way anymore.
No, it's not that way at all.
It's not that way anymore.
Because these days, it's and we were talking about this at breakfast. These days, there's just not a lot of touring bands, and it's kind of the same as like a lot of the retail stuff. I was telling him, I see it as whenever sales are down for a store, usually my students are kind of down. You know what I mean? Like there's downtime. It's kind of universal. It seems to all be kind of connected. But it was different. Now, if you're out there, it only takes one thing to go wrong, and it's not a Spinal Tap moment. It's not like cutting the whole.
It's over.
You're done. Like you are done. And I've seen it happen a million times on the road with a lot of these. I saw a guy in Japan once get on a motorcycle and like, check this out, guys, and he somehow managed to turn it on, and he went through a bank window, and that motorcycle wound up belonging to, what do you call the gangsters there, the mob? Yes, one of the motorcycles belonged to one of the main guys of that, and they basically did the tour for free, and then the craziest thing is there was some huge favor pulled as to how do we fix it? Well, it's like, give us as much money as you can, and also basically some no-name band wound up playing like Right Under Ozzy on some crazy festival. That was the favor returned, as something like that. But it's just like it only takes one move like that. In the '70s, it was the Wild West, like my old instructor at my college would say, if you had a means to transport a band and a nice PA, you could just drive one direction and you could make a killing, really, But that was back in the day, So
I wanted to show Van Halen a guitar, and so I got put with about this many people in the stands in an area waiting for the backstage passes. And the guy walks up, the road manager, he walks up and he looks at all the women and this one guy, because
you're the only guy.
I was all women, right? And he goes, you, and you come with me, everybody else leaves. That was the end of that. I waited all day to meet Van Halen, and it was over. Now hang on a minute. Same thing. 8 times as many people in a room this size, maybe smaller, at least 8 times. We're packed in like cattle. I start mooing like a cow. Moo! Because I thought I didn't like it was a cattle call. And they bring everybody out of the room, and the road manager walks out. He says, if you're willing to sleep with the band, follow me. If not, leave. Crowd cut in half. That was it. I walked out.
Sure you did.
True story. Who said that? What's wrong with you? I've had a lot of things in my life questioned, not that part. I got 5 kids. What's wrong with you, man?
Well, I noticed he doesn't play a PRS, so it must not have worked out.
There is a Van Halen PRS.
Well, that was made that was a different story, and no, it didn't work out. Eddie's been really nice to me. The guy in the Who won't talk to me. I waited around twice all day for him, and he just wasn't on the radar.
You said the guy for the Who?
No. If my name had been Christian Martin, or it had been Leo Fender, or it had been Bill Schultz, or it had been Henry Jeskowitz, or Ted McCarty, or piles of other names, I would have been seen. Bob Taylor, sorry. Paul Smith, And that, after one of those experiences, I came back and called almost every artist I had and thanked them for treating me well. I had an experience I waited around all day. The roadie knew I was there. He knew I was there. The road manager knew I was there. Everybody, I was at one of the Virgin festivals, seeing, I can't remember who it was. I can't really remember who it was. Anyway, he came out, I had the guitar in my hand, he got in the limo and he left. I called all my artists the next day and thanked them.
Wow. Well, was Santana the first? Your first catch?
No, Santana was a sweetheart. He wanted a tool to do his job. Carlos doesn't care about what anybody else thinks. Carlos only cares what he thinks.
Yeah.
Carlos wants a tool to do his job. What do you got? You know.
Yeah.
Al Di Meola, first time I ever met him, I had made his guitar for Peter Frampton, and he's looking at me going, "I want you to show me the way." I said, "Is that how it goes?" And he kept looking down and playing the guitar, trying to get out of it, and he kept playing the guitar, and he kept trying to get out of it, and he goes, "Oh no, oh no."
Yeah, I gotta have
And he
one.
looks at me, he goes, "Will you make me a 12-string?" I swear to God. I mean, these experiences all happen in some way, and that's how the company started. But look, Paul Miles is an extraordinarily good manager, and he's a great guitar maker. My place is full of guitar makers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we got an old, 53 Les Paul we converted into a 58 Les Paul in the back the other day. Nobody better at doing that conversion than us. I got pictures of it. It looks like a 58 Les Paul. But we did it because we needed to find out a couple of things about the history of our business that we didn't know, and we were able to find out about it. There's a 54 Strat in my office right now, and we pretty much understand. I wish I had the rights to make them. We could make 50 real ones. I mean, we could make real 58 Les Pauls. We could make all this stuff, but we don't have the trademark rights to that. We have the trademark rights to this. So we could make that stuff. We're guitar makers. I mean, we keep trying to do vintage finishes, and God doesn't want us doing them. He wants us doing all these colors.
Yeah, all the cool stuff.
He wants us doing all these colors. He just absolutely has no interest in whatsoever in us doing something from the past. He wants us doing something new. And, you know, that's what you're out there practicing when you're staining these woods, right? There was a shoe shop downstairs from my shop, and I bought a bottle of red dye and a bottle of yellow dye and a bottle of blue dye, and that's how it started.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's how it started. And the problem with Fibing's leather dye, it fades. So all these guitars, this is a green guitar that's been stained as if it faded. Because originally, in the old days, those guitars are blue, and they turn green. So, I mean, we used to get, so a guy sends me a balloon, right? I'm sorry to jump around, but these are all stories that are just kind of erupting, right? He sends us a purple balloon. He says, blow it up, put it in front of the light, and I want it that color. So Jeff Jacobson and I blew it up, tied it off, looked in the light, made it that color, and then we had a purple guitar. The black guitars, the stained ones, because we got wood that had black stain in it, we need to cover it up. The green guitars, we had
There's a reason
guitars,
for everything, yeah.
green stain, we need to cover it up. The tortoiseshell was all the brown stain, we needed to cover it up. All these colors didn't come from some idea of colors. We wanted to sell the guitars, and the wood had come in.
And the art happened,
the
while
art,
solving the problem, and the art happened
Paul
at the same time.
is a MICA graduate, Maryland Institute. What's the exact acronym? What?
Maryland Institute College of Art.
Right, and so I mean, you should tell the story, Paul. But you got a complete art degree and never could figure out how it related to making guitars. And does your art degree now relate to making guitars?
Oh yeah, it always did. I just didn't realize it.
So he's somehow taken his art degree and turned it into making these beautiful guitars, right? Somehow it translated beautifully. And
Yeah, it did.
we did some things for his school, talking at the school, and it got very clear that your art degree had translated beautifully into guitar making. It's very cool what's going on with the guitar making. It's very cool. I think we're peaking right now. We're making the best guitars we've ever made.
Yeah, I mean,
the artist acceptance level is very high. I got a letter from Garth Brooks the other day, of all weird things, thanking me for
He's been playing that
playing a
guitar
Zach
for a song.
Myers
Yeah, that
with a
was
bunch
right
of U.S. parts on it. I'm sorry, I never thought I'd get a letter from Garth Brooks.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest dudes of all time. He's
So,
a big dude.
Can you play some of that Django stuff?
Yeah.
So let me give you an idea. Django Reinhardt is one of the geniuses and fathers of music in our business, right? Mm-hmm. And he did a tune called Nuage and a bunch of other tunes, and just because he didn't have a few fingers didn't bother him very much. Mm-hmm. He just did it anyway. And you were one of the very few people that have studied him.
Yeah, I still try, yeah.
So-
It's a weird, let's see. Well, the first thing, well, here we go. All right, so 2 fingers, right? When you hear this, you think that it's this, but he would go. So basically, you have stuff like this. Yeah. So you can kind of see how everything's like a 2-finger form for him, right? And he did the diminished scale like nobody else. Yeah, so. So with him, the interesting thing about
Fly, wake up.
Interesting thing about Django is that if you want to talk about who was like, how far back do chops go? You know, like who, you know, because there's always, it's like, no, there's this guy that before Eddie that was doing, you know, and a lot of those guys just played that way back then. You know, a lot of the guys, and it's like LA style, right? The thing about Django is he did what you would call the sweep pick now. It's just a rest stroke, but he would do the, you know, here's a very classic kind of Django lick. Right? And he's sweeping. But he's doing it with 2 fingers. And he's doing it at the speed. I mean, the guy was the original Keith Moon too, because he would actually get paid. And I saw the numbers that he would get paid in this book, this biography, and it was enough to be like, holy crap, back then? Like, oh my God, like he was a mystery. Nobody had ever seen a guitar played like that. But what would the guy do is he was a total space cadet. He would sometimes just not show up to his shows because he wanted to go for a walk and smell the dew. He would show up to his show and oh, I left my guitar on the train. It's gone. Like, so then they run around trying. He would show up to the gig with no pick and he would play with the tooth of a comb. He didn't really like playing guitar for people. He'd rather play pool or go fishing. And the guy.
Sounds like me.
Yeah. But the guy
is they
really
want me to go fishing. They want me to play.
Yeah. But no, he's something else, man. I mean. Nobody plays that's basically his sound. So it's called decoration. Like basically take a chord like this or a chord like this, and with that same thing I showed you earlier, you can trace chords. That's what he does. It's called decoration. So if I have an arpeggio, right? If I have an arpeggio, I can go and make like a musical idea out of it. So he would do that, but it, as you all know, is very intense and ferocious, and also beautiful. The guy the song that stands for Clouds that you like,
Nuage, yeah.
That's a beautiful song.
How does it go?
Willie Nelson does a great version of that song.
Have you ever played it?
No, that's one I haven't. I got a really weird relationship with Django because.
Why don't you come to my studio and record it?
Okay, I'll learn it. I mean, I know it in my head. I've got a weird relationship with Django because like. I traded lessons with this guy named Dennis Chang, who's a really big instructional, like a gypsy jazz instructor up in the French side of Canada. And we did a Skype thing because he wanted to kind of get in on some sort of the metal chops, and I wanted to get in on the George Benson stuff because that's another all-time great, as well as Django. And I worked on this lick. It's this one lick. Somehow they go. It's the. But what they do is they avoid. They'll actually kind of overwork, and if it's a single string, they downpick it no matter what. So it resets, their picking never screws up. So that's the way that they fix all their, like sweep picking is what you call it. Yeah, it's economy picking, that's what you call it now. So when you see him play, it's a very particular thing. So I'm working for 2 or 3 years on this, trying to like really get down. I was transcribing the solos, all this stuff, buying books, doing it by ear, and then I finally got to talk to a guy who really does it, and I was like, all right, before we go, you have to, let me show you this. And I play in the lick, and I go, how close am I? And he starts laughing. He goes, I can't believe you got it that close on an electric, but it's impossible. He's like, but you were, and I was like, okay, that's it, thanks. You basically saved me like 2 more years of heartache, because I was like, I will learn this. And sure enough, it just, so you got to play that with your 90-degree cocked angle. You got to float, not, hover, not like rest. I love resting on the guitar, you know, that kind of thing. But if you guys ever get a chance and like get a chance to, there's only one video of him that's about 15 seconds long. You get a chance, get on YouTube and go dig his music up. It's an incredible thing, it really is. Especially back then. It was so incredible the Nazis protected him. Because yeah, they were like they protected him because he was a big phenomenon, you know. And that was all from a fire that set on his. He was a legit gypsy, you know. His wife had a side gig as like she made lanterns, and he knocked one over when they were asleep, and the thing went up, and they both lived. But he only, although I was told, I will say this, I met this one French guy whose great uncle played with him, and he's like, don't be fooled, the third finger works. He's like, it's fused, but and he's selective with using it, but that's the one secret. And I'm like, that's why I've learned this damn solos, and it still doesn't work. I still can't do it, you know. So, but anyways, check out Django Reinhardt, man. He's something else.
And what does
you know?
Benson sound like when you're playing?
Benson, man. That's Benson. I mean, he's a total sweep guy, you know. I mean, he's still got it too. And the thing about Benson, and you guys should try this. It's a Wes Montgomery thing. Yeah, and it never feels totally, you still feel like you're struggling. But for me, a lot of times I do it that way because when I learn something, I usually learn it with my thumb and no pick because it slows me down. If you give me a pick, I'm just, you know, that's all it is when with a pick. So I intentionally just play. But George Benson's another one. He's got the flesh tone, like talking about. You know what I'm saying? Oh, there's no distortion on. There's nothing like that.
How
right?
he did it.
You guys ever play the side of your pick? That's another one. I mean, this stuff is you can hear the difference. That's something that I didn't know until about 2 records ago. I was recording and I didn't bring my pick and I just played with whatever, and I realized that we had to redo the whole solo unless I found that pick because it sounded drastically different. And that's when I went, oh yeah, if you change the material and the shape of your pick or the size of it, your sound changes. It's like, duh, you know, have you seen my baseball? You know, good one, Emil. You know what I mean? Like,
What movie's that from?
Something About Mary. That's a good one. Have you seen my baseball?
It's a bunch. It's a bunch.
You've seen it too.
Different movie. That's my Greek wedding, isn't it? The bunt cake, right? That's no ordinary wabbit. That's one mean wabbit. What movie was that from? I'm not
Part two.
bad. I'm only drawn that way.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
No, very good. Very.
Yeah, kids don't know about that one.
Huh?
That's the kids don't know about that one.
Oh, yeah. All right, so does anybody have a question for Emil and I? We
Got any
have
questions?
nothing but spout stream of consciousness stories for a long time.
Stories. Did you ever have any contact with Tommy Bolin?
No, I never met him.
That guy
I heard
rules.
some stories about how he auditioned for Deep Purple that I found extraordinary. But no, I never met him. He was a very well-respected musician. My experience was that he didn't replace Ritchie Blackmore as well as that record wasn't as good as I thought it could have been. Come Taste the Band or whatever it was called. I mean, the story that I heard is so out of bounds that when he auditioned for the band, I can't even repeat it. But you know, very rock and roll, very new. You know, had a really beautiful energy around him. And from the stories, as the stories go, he didn't make it because he liked his drugs too much. So
Is
no,
he
I
still
never met
still
him.
alive?
Oh God, no.
He's been dead for a long time.
Somebody else raised their hand. Yeah, in the back.
My buddy a long time ago had a bass she made that had bumblebees in the inlay. Did they ever make a production model of that?
Okay, I never made a bumblebee anything.
Yeah, it looked like bumblebees, but it was just a different design inlay.
It looked like
I didn't do
Oh,
it.
wait.
I didn't do it.
What?
You sure Joe didn't do it? I didn't do it.
Yeah, well, we did it on private stuff.
Bumblebees? I mean, I don't remember, and I have nothing from the old shop of Bumblebee inlays. So this must have been in the factory at some point, right?
Yeah, it's at the new shop. We did it then.
Okay, so you did it in private stock.
Yeah, it was one of the
Okay,
early,
I thought when he says something you made, I think before 1985.
back when you actually made guitars.
Did you get that on tape?
Where's Chad?
I deserve that. Let me tell you why I deserve that. His crew is an extraordinary crew, and very often they say the guitar you made, Paul, and I always correct them, say, no, I didn't make the guitar, it was made by this crew of people. I mean, I really actually deserve that. I try and correct people, I try to correct people, it's not me, I've got this extraordinary crew, I talk about it all the time, and there is an illusion that I still make all the guitars in the factory and everybody else stands around and watches. And in a way, it serves the business because when somebody buys a guitar, this is a guitar Paul made, right? But it's not true. We've got 250 people there, but I do walk around the factory probably as much as anybody in the place. I see things other managers don't see, which scares the crap out of me. Saw something the other day you don't even know about. But yeah, I deserve that. I'll get you back, Paul. Anybody else have a question?
Anyone?
Yeah.
I was going to ask about the bridge pickup and the Paul's guitar.
Yeah.
The 408.
Yeah.
You know, it has its thing, and then the Paul's guitar is similar. What's the difference between the
Well,
408 bridge and the
Brent
Paul's
Mason
guitar?
and I realized that if you took the bass pickup and you made it a treble pickup and you wound it the same as a treble pickup, it was a little narrower and sensing a smaller piece of string, it had a little bit more clarity. And it seems to work somehow in a really good way. Also, as I get to be a better guitar player, I can get the guitar to sound more and more single coil and get away with it. So here, let me plug it in dead clean and show you. I know you didn't want to look at my grandfather ass. I got it. So, is it clean?
Do you want the bright on?
No.
Okay.
But you can turn the treble up in the middle.
Yeah, we're good.
Turn it up some. Now, if you get a P90 guitar off the wall, that's brighter and clearer and more single coily than a P90. It's not quite as bright as a Strat pickup. I don't know if there's a Strat pickup here. There's a real single coil in that Vela. Why don't you pull the Vela down and so you can listen to the difference. That's about 6.5K, and this is 5K. This has less turns on it.
I hear it. Do you hear it?
Now that's a humbucking sound like a single. This one's a humbucking sound like a single coil. So the better I get as a guitar player, now these pickups were shipped in something called graphite guitars, and I think there's a graphite guitar in this building, right? And if you go get that guitar, or somebody goes gets it, we'll compare what we made versus what my guitar is. Is it here in this case? All right, so let's compare my baby to what we shipped that I only played for 10 seconds before it left.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
So this isn't a copy of my guitar, this is. That's one thing I like about PRS. We don't make copies of Carlos's guitars, we make Carlos's guitars. We don't make copies of Brent Mason's guitar, we make Brent Mason's guitar. So shit, it might sound better.
It does sound great.
It's got a beautiful, clear tone to it.
Got all this.
So let's listen acoustically. It's acoustic, it's not electric.
Yeah.
So that's the way it is. No matter what mic you put on Barbra Streisand, she's not going to sound like Paul Rodgers. You're listening to a different set of guitars. And this is exactly the same guitar. So that's not the color we got that stained. Although, Paul, you did a nice job on this.
That's a great looking guitar. Jeez.
You could have done a little bit better job, but it's okay.
Well, just like you, I have the illusion that I stain every guitar.
Yeah. It's nice having people around with lots of brain cells draining out of their ears, right? That's great. So does the person who's been filming this whole thing have a question? What? Yeah, she asked. She did a interview this morning that you have on film. Look, what's the message? The message is we're guitar players, we're guitar makers. We think we're pretty much at the top of our game right now in terms of how well we're making guitars. The job for us is to continue, not to do much better. Once Joni Mitchell recorded Paved Paradise, her job was to go out on the road and play the tune beautifully for audience after audience after audience. In a way, the song's written, our skill level is pretty steady, and hopefully there's a real confidence amongst you guys that if you have one of these things, it'll provide you a lifetime of enjoyment. That would be the idea, right? That's the message. I think that's what Brett decided was possible when you started buying these guitars from us and we started this relationship. You've been to the factory, what, half a dozen times? Something like that. We've been here a bunch. And really, hopefully, by the time Brett Mason gets done playing with you tonight, which you should hopefully enjoy that experience, you lucky bastard.
He got to play with McLaughlin last time and Herring at the same time, so yeah.
You know what that is?
Yeah,
That's
I know
a whole
what
bunch
that
of those.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, right. It was very interesting to run rehearsals, and John was in the band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting because but I got him to play a Mahavishnu tune with Dennis Chambers and Rhonda Smith, which
Oh yeah, you ran. Paul ran it on him. He got the bucket. Like he made him play things.
Yeah.
Like he did it. And the worst thing from my experience is going and rehearsing for experience and doing a performance, and you're under the gun and everybody's and all this stuff. And I have this thing where every time I have extreme pressure situation, I look up and I'm like, all right. I look up, I'm like, oh great, there's John McLaughlin and Brett Mason. both just kind of like, yeah. I'm like, just, And then at NAMM it was Marty. I was like sitting right there and I'm like,
Marty
look, Freeman. I look up and I'm like, oh no. Like, and I got robbed in Mexico. I had to get a new passport. I was just like covered in sweat. I barely made it there, and I'm like, and I look up and he's like right there. I'm like, damn it.
A true story. I was playing at the Crazy Horse in Nashville, and I was pretty irreverent. I walked up to them, y'all can line dance to this. We played Summertime. They walked out and looked at me mean. And I looked down in the middle of Summertime, and there's Adrian Belew looking up at me. Same thing. I went, oh no.
Yeah.
I had to play the Star Spangled Banner at a Grammy event. I looked down, and I looked down and looked away. Didn't look back.
Yeah, you can't look back. You
Quincy
can't.
Jones is sitting in the front.
You can't look.
seat.
You can't. Yeah, you can't do a double take. You just gotta. No, actually, you can't because you'll mess up. You're like, what? You'll start. Oh, I'm performing.
I'm sorry. You're Quincy Jones. I need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, here, let me just give that here. There you go, buddy. There you go.
And if I quit playing, it's going to be worse. Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you for coming. I think that you have a destination store here. Most of the stuff in the world's being done on the internet or nobody cares anymore. This store,
this is rare.
This is
very
rare. You said this is one of the biggest non-chain music stores you've ever been in your entire life.
I called it a corporate crusher.
Yeah. He called your store a corporate crusher today.
I mean, look at it.
I thought that was a real compliment.
Well, it's a Death Star. I mean, it's like, you guys ever seen what's that movie Independence Day where the ship comes and like there's just a shadow that's, and, I mean, that's the store. It's like, Jesus. Like, it's big.
That's great.
It's a cool thing though. It really, it is, I mean, we're all, I mean, there's all kinds of different ages here, but you guys remember not too long ago where a music store was where you went after school, you know, going to the music store in town and like, going there to buy it because you're supporting the store, you know, not just going online because it's $20 cheaper or something like that. So, I mean, I haven't seen a store that could even carry drums in years. You know what I mean? I haven't seen a store that
There are
can
more
carry.
cymbals in this store.
I mean, yeah, you see, I mean, those cymbals alone would sink any other company I've seen lately. Just the cymbals alone, right? So it's a really cool thing, you know. And there's events here. It's a really cool store. You guys should definitely. You guys got something cool.
Please
you know?
don't do the following thing. Come in here, find the guitar you want, and then go online and buy it for $5 less. Don't do that.
That gets rid of the.
I can't stand that.
It's like downloading a song where you can go. When back in the day, you could go to the store on the release date and get it and be like, yeah, and have the art and have the experience and everything. And that's really what a store kind of provides, is the whole experience. Because I mean, there's nothing like seeing a guitar and being like, damn, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to get that. You're like, there it is. And then you see the price tag. You're like, holy crap. Okay, I'll sell my car. I'm still going to get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because you could custom order something. That's cool and all. But I mean, seeing something on a wall and being like, that's like the inner kid in you winning. You know, when there's no way I'm going to get that guitar. Then you get it, you know?
So somebody came to me and told me they were going to buy a guitar today, and I pointed them toward that blue guitar that was right next. Did he buy it?
He's thinking about it.
Is he in this room?
Uh-oh.
All right, so what's the problem?
He's 18 and he works at Papa John's.
Yeah, and your point, Vanessa?
My point is that
What movie's that from?
he's going to get it.
What movie's that from, your point, Vanessa?
Huh?
What movie was that from?
I don't know.
Austin Powers. If the entire procreation of the world depended on you and me making love, I still wouldn't do it, Austin. And your point, Vanessa? Look, that's a good guitar. You know that's a good. Did you plug it in? Okay, good. I'll tell you a story. I found a 1953 Les Paul for a good price when I was young, and I got my mother to buy it for me, and I made her promise that, you know, she made me promise that she put it in the back of the closet. When I got done paying for it, then I could pull it out of the closet. Every time she left the house, I had that thing out. You know, and I learned neck shape from that guitar, and I still have the jigs and fixtures from the shape of that neck, because that was part of this, you know, those are the Amati Stradivarius of our business, those old guitars. That guitar has got, there's nothing wrong with it. The neck shape's right, the sound's right, it's easy to operate, it stays in tune, it plays in tune, all the things that would fight you, and it'll be with you the rest of your life. Or you'll upgrade to a private stock later or whatever, I don't really know. But come on, man. What's stopping you from buying that guitar? I mean, come on, let's... you know something? Don't get it. Go home, get a Squire, and just leave.
You're trying everything to get this guy to buy the guitar.
You want my belt?
I don't want your clothing, no sir. You have the wrong hydraulics for me. That is wrong. That's not. So you're thinking about it. Is that basically it? Okay, fair enough. Do you really work at Papa John's? Cool. All right.
I'll give you a pizza for it.
Oh, let me tell you something. I have traded away everything in my power to get certain things in my life. Whether it be my first SVT cabinet or my first guitar. I had no idea how I was going to pay for this stuff, but I knew I was willing to work hard. There were several times I bought a piece of gear and I just got out a bucket and I got the soap and rags for my mother, and I went to every house and knocked on the door of the dirty car and said, your car needs to be washed, can I wash it? And the lady go, sure, what do you want? And I say, I don't know, $12. They say, okay. I mean, I swear to God, and you can make money, trading time for money, you can make money. That, you know, there's a way to make an income, and that's not hard. Having the determination is more important than having the money, because the determination will get you the money too. So, thank you very much for coming. Is Brent here? Thank you very, very much for coming. Is Brent here? Is Gary here? Is Greg here? Is Gary and Greg here? They're all here? So we got to get out of here. We got to clear out so they can do sound check. Okay, thank you so much.